the various different decks which maintain, but then we also see new decks pop up now and then. I believe it was Lewis Laskin who kind of introduced the world to the green and taxes version of Death and Taxes. And then we saw a little bit after that, Junk and Taxes, a deck after my own heart. After, I'm a big fan of people that take my deck and run with it. So.
Yeah.
And here we go. We've got Devyn March on the right, on the left, Dan Jordan on the right. There we go.
It's not important. They're both at the table. That's what's important. I'm sure either of them would be happy to switch places if that was.
Yeah. I'm sure that Devyn's really happy here to finally be making not only the top 8 after so many near misses, but a finals.
Yeah, so we've got Devyn, who's a newcomer to the top 8. So he's running on the momentum and the excitement of being here and the high spirits. And then we've got Dan Jordan, who's a veteran of the top 8, and not only the top 8 but of the finals. He's held some trophies, and so he maybe has more of a comfort level being in this position. But both players playing the blue-white Caw-Blade. Now that's interesting. Also, note we did not see any of the Caw-Blade variants that splash another color. I think it's been pretty accepted that that Caw-Blade is at its core a blue-white deck, and to stray from that may be a bad idea. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine, Bryce, who's here at the tournament, and he did play a version splashing red, and he feels like that's the strongest version, but he only splashes red for bolts over cards like Condemn. He plays like 1 Mountain and then 4 Scalding Tarn and 3 Arid Mesa, so and bolts instead of things like Condemn and Oust, and I think that's an interesting way to look at it, just to give yourself the versatility of being able to take down the mirror match. He also runs 2 Emiria Angels main, and he was...
Emiria Angel is a monster, by the way, in the mirror. Yeah, I've played it. It's a monster.
He was very, very happy with his build. He wasn't happy with his play. So he said if he could restart the tournament, he would play the same 75 again. So something to consider. Emiria Angel, it was something that I've heard a little bit about, and it's something I'm kind of curious to try myself.
One of the issues with Emiria Angel is by playing it, it's very powerful in the mirror, but it also costs 4, and it does not blow the game open in all the matchups you might play.
Right.
You know, like one of the things that's really nice about Caw-Blade as a deck otherwise is it has this kind of insidious way of just doing a little thing here that gets advantage, a little thing there that gets you an advantage, and then, oh look, I connected with the sort of Feast and Famine, put the edge over the top. I mean, it's sort of like being an arm wrestler where you're kind of just doing a little bit of joking around with your opponent, and then you just push them down to the table. Emiria Angel, powerful though it is, doesn't actually kind of fit what the rest of the deck does in terms of those little edges. Right. And you can stumble with an Emiria Angel. A 4-drop like Jace, if you cast the Jace, it's not going to make you stumble.
Yeah. I think the analogy that I like...
see some Hatfield's walking in.
there go 8 copies of Candelabra of Tano's walking by us. But one of the analogies I like about Caw-Blade Mirror is it's kind of like when you get a little crack in your windshield. It starts as just a little crack, and you're like, you don't even barely have to touch it, and suddenly it starts to crack more unless you get it repaired. It's kind of like, you better fix that slight crack because it's gonna cause the game to get out of hand.
Now, obviously, going back to this question of play skill. Now, let's pretend that we had in the finals here 2 decks that were 75 card mirrors of, say, Patrick Sullivan's red deck, right? In that matchup and in this matchup, luck absolutely is a factor. But luck is only a factor if play skill doesn't just throw the match away. Yeah, I know when I've played red mirrors, I generally have had a really good record with those. And why? Because people don't know the little intricacies of when you should be burning creatures and when you should be burning the face. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem like there's many decisions there, but it's a really big deal. Here, there are many more obvious moments where it's clear that there are strong decisions happening. And so you can say, there's a huge luck factor. However, even with the fact that there's a luck factor, I still think that skill trumps luck to a big degree. If you've got two players with equal skill, luck is going to start creeping back in.
Right.
But in general, luck is trumped by skill in this matchup, and we can see that just by looking at the pedigree of the top 8.
So Devyn leads with a Celestial Colonnade and Dan with an Island. And Devyn plays a turn 2 Glacial Fortress and passes the turn. Dan
Now,
with the Sea Chrome Coast.
You'll notice Dan here, no turn 2 play. He probably has a Mana Leak in his hand. But even if he doesn't, suddenly Devyn's in a position where acting is a little bit more problematic.
Yeah. Neither player with a turn 2 play. Devyn goes with a turn 3 Preordain into a Scalding Tarn. Now you were just saying skill better than luck, but I thought the old saying was better lucky than good.
Well, that is the if you can guarantee you can always be lucky,
Right.
Perhaps that's the case. Luck, however, is capricious.
Like capricious Ifrit.
Yes, like that.
There's the
Mana
Mana
Leak.
Leak, as you predicted.
Now, getting rid of the first of a Squadron Hawks is actually very significant.
Yeah. You wonder if Devyn may have another one in his hand, which may have been part of a contributing factor in the decision to say, you know what, I'll run it into a Mana Leak and just to run him out of a counter. There it is. Look at that.
Oh, I get it. Go ahead.
No wonder you ran that last one into a Mana Leak.
Now, part of the thing that's really funny is that, in a sense, you can almost kind of play the next level game and be like, nah, let it resolve. And then, you get to that Princess Bride style. Yeah, clearly, you think I am a strong man. Sorry, you beat a strong man, so...
Right.
Yeah. You go to
So
Tectonic Edge,
which
knock
one of
one
them
down.
is immune now?
In for one. These are actually my favorite games of this matchup, where we have this wrangling that starts.
Yeah, there's a second Squadron Hawk, or a third from Devyn if you count the first one that got Mana Leaked. And there's the Squadron Flock.
Tapped out.
Entirely...
Game 1, tap
Devyn
out.
is out of Hawks.
Yeah. It's still likely that a Day of Judgment can make an appearance game 1.
Yeah.
Some people keep it in this. I know that some people don't. The Dave Shields says he doesn't like to keep it in, but right now I believe both these players are playing game 1s with their Day of Judgment.
Yeah.
Dan Jordan using a Tectonic Edge to take care of a Celestial Colonnade.
Dan would certainly love a Goblin Sharpshooter right now, I think.
And Devyn plays the 4th land, says go.
So there's the Day of Judgment.
Taps out,
And that
day,
is
and it
all of
resolves.
Devyn's Hawks. So only chance of getting those Hawks back is a Sun Titan.
And here we're going to see what happens. Jace Bellerin?
No,
Nope. Sword go. Wow.
Yeah, he was very aggressive with those Hawks, and
Jace the Mind Sculptor.
you wonder.
Wow. I'm gonna say that Dan's looking pretty good here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Devyn going all in on the Hawks has really put him in a position where he's got to lean on. He's got quite a lot of other good cards to lean on, but those Hawks carrying the swords are pretty big. So there's
Spell
a Gideon
Pierce.
gets spell pierced,
Ouch.
and this is exactly
And
what
here
I
comes
was.
Jace once again doing its work,
Yeah.
trying to nail in the coffin. Let's pretend that Dan doesn't get anything of use with the Jace, so it's the worst possible Jace ever.
Right.
And then let's pretend that Devyn gets the best possible draw and has an unopposed Jace back. It's still pretty bad, but it wasn't the worst Jace ever. It was a Sun Titan.
The Sun Titan's on
And
the wrong
there's a
side
Tectonic Edge.
for Devyn. And,
Devyn's in real trouble.
Yeah.
He needs to cast a Day of Judgment right now.
And he does have one, I believe, in hand.
There it is.
He's got the Spell Pierce mana open, just in case. Oh, no, Dan only had a Tectonic Edge.
I guess there's still a Jace here to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Oh, you still have another good card there. So.
And there's a sword carrier named Stoneforge Mystic.
So, if you're Dan, do you tech edge Devyn down to another
Yes.
down to 4 lands here? That's
Yes.
what I'm thinking. You maybe tech edge the opposing tech edge, or do you keep him off double white?
That's actually a more interesting question. That I'm not sure about.
I mean, he obviously. I think.
I think you get the Glacial Fortress,
That's what I
honestly,
think too,
because I don't think Devyn's going to want to tech edge at this point.
At this, Dan's got what, 2, 4, 6, 7 mana in play, so he's not hurting for lands. So being able to keep Devyn off of double white forces him to not only draw more lands, but forces him to get one of those to be a white source to even be able to cast another Day of Judgment or a Sun Titan or a Gideon. Pretty much all of his threats right now are requiring double white. And note, Devyn does not have a Celestial Colonnade, so right now the only threat, if Dan were to tech edge the Glacial Fortress, Devyn's only, which he just did, the best card he could draw right now would be a Jace and hope it doesn't get spell pierced. And let's see, there's a Jace, and it works. It does not get spell pierced, so that's a little bit of help for Devyn's side.
And now a Sword of Feast and Famine is probably going to go to work.
Yeah, I expect it will. This is the. Let's see. Oh,
another Jace.
he just casts the sword. I guess says, you know what, I'm going to get in.
Attack for
just
+1.
That extra 1 damage could be relevant. I guess that absolutely makes sense since Devyn is tapped out. There's no fear of a counterspell, so no reason to vial it in via the Stoneforge Mystic. But there is the other Jace, second Jace from Dan Jordan. And like we saw yesterday, Devyn scoops him up after that second Jace. Like we saw yesterday, if being behind, even if you can match, Dan won game 1, yes. Even if you can match Jace for Jace, if you're playing, if one player plays a Jace and the other one plays a Jace, and back and forth, it's the player who plays the first Jace and gets the brainstorms, gets the value out of it, is going to really have a leg up.
While these players sideboard, wow, a year of free premium. That means you'll be able to have premium for 12 months. Remember, this is the thing that we've been talking about all weekend. When we were talking about some of the insights that we've had about how this matchup works, about whether or not colored versions of the deck with either black or red are good, with whether or not certain matchups are of value, with whether or not certain deck lists, what they look like, all of this information, people are talking about it and writing about it on Star City Games Premium side. And I know I get so much value out of it. I love reading my premium.
Yeah.
A free year for the winner of the giveaway here. And this giveaway, you just have to tweet the answer to this trivia question, which is going to go up on the hashtag SCG Premium, amongst other things. But the question I'm going to ask you, Dan Jordan here, who we can see pictured on the right. Dan Jordan, how did he place at the very last? What was his place he received at the very last Star City Games Boston Open Series that he top 8'd in? What did he place? For those of you who are looking, technically it's listed on the website as Open Series for Boxborough, Massachusetts, which is the name of the borough that we're in. What place did Dan Jordan get in the last Star City Games Boston that he played in? And what you need to do is answer this at the hashtag SCG Premium, and if you are the correct answer, one of you will win a free year of premium.
You mentioned about loving Star City Premium, and I look at Star City now, and I guess I think back to the 90s and the early 2000s, and I have very fond memories of going into a bookstore and getting Inquest magazine. And being
Inquest! I've written for Inquest.
Yeah, see, I knew I recognized your name from somewhere.
Inquest, Scry, you name it, Sideboard.
Very fond memories of reading those magazines and being able to just read up on Magic articles and new decks and things that happen. I love those magazines. Very fond memories of that. And for Star City, I mean, really, in general, Magic web coverage and writing right now is is so amazing, and Star City Premium is something that I absolutely enjoy having, because it's like getting a new Inquest magazine every weekday, because you have like 6 new articles or so, different numbers, different days, but always new things to read, and it's just one of those things I really enjoy, being able to, at midnight, all right, what are people writing about today? Always some new decks or some analysis of current decks and maybe some changes. Financial articles now. That's become such a big thing recently. It's kind of interesting that it's almost taken so long to catch on when you think about it, because
well, people having the knowledge and then the will to write about it. I mean, I know in my area, one of the guys that is probably one of the more knowledgeable financial people with the game, he's not going to tell you what's valuable. He's just going to buy it from you and then sell it.
Right.
And, what we're going to see here, though, is that we've got enough people in the game that, people like various, Ben Bleiweiss, John Medina, they're here to tell you what's valuable, because, you know what? They can make their money at their shop, they can make their money in their area, and then also they can let you know, because it's not going to hurt them.
Right. I think the big thing is knowledge. It's not about trying to rip someone off for what something is worth now, but it is making a prediction, making a speculation kind of on what you expect to get more to gain value. In the meantime, the game has started. Dan leading off with a Colonnade, and Devyn with a Colonnade and a turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic for a Sword of Feast and Famine. So it's looking good for Devyn here on the play in game 2. Dan looks like he's going to follow it up with the same thing. Let's see if he gets a sword or a mortar pod. It is a sword.
Having the game 1 edge is so huge here.
Yeah. It really, really is. And I really wonder if Devyn being so aggressive with those Hawks is really maybe the decision that did him in last game. And
turn 3 go.
Yeah.
What does he have in his hand there?
Well, we know he has a sword, and I believe that some.
I see 2 Gideons, I think.
Okay. So Dan plays a turn 3 Jace Bellerin.
Jace Bellerin is such a monster. Here comes the sword. Drops an island into play. Attacks Jace with the Sword of Feast and Famine. I think that's a Summoning Sick Inkmoth Nexus that he just laid into play. Summoning Sick were it to be activated.
Right, yeah.
And Dan lets the Jace die. Preordain hiding out in Dan's hand. Says a go. Glacial Fortress go.
For those of you just joining us, you're watching the finals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Boston. I'm Joey Pasco here in the booth with Adrian Sullivan.
Hello.
And we're watching Dan Jordan versus Devyn March in a Callblade Mirror. And Dan has taken game 1 after Devyn was very aggressive with his 4 Squadron Hawks in game 1 and ran it into a Day of Judgment. And I think that may have been the turning point that gave Dan the opening to take him down in game 1. But here in game 2, Devyn looks like he's got an advantage with a sorted up Sword of Feast and Famine on a Stoneforge Mystic. So a sorted up Stoneforge Mystic is what I was trying to say there. And now an animated Inkmoth Nexus, swinging into the red zone at Dan Jordan, who is potentially about to have a poison count, which is going to be the first one I think we've seen in the top 8. Actually, in any of the.
Rashad looks annoyed. He doesn't want to see poison in the game.
I've heard me say poison, and Rashad's, oh god. So
I think that Rashad should make like little drops of poison along the side,
little skulls,
instead of little skulls.
And
there's an Into the Royal.
Into the Royal from Dan Jordan, not kicked conspicuously, even though he has the 4 mana, and he bounces the
block,
bounces the Sword of Feast and Famine. Back
there
to
is a
Devyn's
poison
hand.
coming.
And
oh, Rashad's so unhappy about that. Man, you just messed up my Cheerios.
So I'm assuming Dan is hoping to drop a sword of his own into play here, which is why he did not kick the Into the Royal. Seems like good use of his mana. Also just keeping mana available as well. And here we go. Yep, there is a Sword of Feast and Famine. I mean, we know he has one in hand, unless he decides to play a Mortar Pod. What's going on here?
Thinking.
He clearly, clearly activating the Stoneforge Mystic and playing Sword of Feast and Famine, or putting it into play. And Dan untaps with a...
Draw an island there.
Set up pretty well here. He can equip and then get in with the Stoneforge Mystic. If Devyn has a Condemn, Dan can Spell Pierce it.
He has the Pierce.
And it looks like he's maybe lining up a different plan with the 3 lands over there. He does have, I believe, a Glacial Fortress in hand, so
Preordain first.
Okay.
See what he gets.
I believe that was a Sun Titan was one of them. I couldn't swear to it, but it looked. I think that maybe
one in the bottom, one on the top. Goes right to his hand.
If it was a Sun Titan, it was what he put in his hand, because I'm pretty sure that's...
Equips the sword.
Yeah. So,
oh, maybe wrong.
Oh yeah, is he gonna...
Caw?
No,
nope, Stoneforge Mystic.
Another Stoneforge. Interesting.
Going to require a counterspell to stop. Does not find anything. Oh, Mortar Pot. My Mortar Pot.
Yeah, I didn't see it there. I was looking in the wrong place on the table. But yeah, there's a Mortar Pod for Dan from that second Stoneforge Mystic. Land.
Equip.
No, he's going to edge the Ink Moth. Oh no, I thought he was pointing at the Ink Moth. No, he decides to edge away a Colonnade.
Tapped out says go. Wow.
Yeah, not the turn I expected, but Dan's a good player, so just an example of all the different options available and different lines of play. I was expecting an equipped sword and Stoneforge Mystic swinging with a Spell Pierce backup for a Condemn, but
that's what I was expecting as well.
Completely different turn of events in Dan's on Dan's turn. So a Gideon from Devyn March looks like it will resolve and force those Mystics to come to the party. Come over to Gideon's house. But Dan plays a Gideon of his own to cancel that party. And he does not attack. Of course, not so much value in attacking there, but could have got in for 1. But I guess he sees there's more
activate.
More value in leaving the Stoneforge.
An untapped land here. There it is. Activate again. Equip.
Yep.
In for 3 poison.
This is trouble. And this is the reason. This is something I'm actually excited to see, because this is the reason that a lot of these decks have been playing Inkmoth Nexus. And how awesome is it to animate the Inkmoth Nexus, get in with it for 3 poison, then be able to untap with it, or untap it, and use it for mana, which is exactly what's happening here. Devyn with another Gideon. He is insistent on that party. Gideon says, "Bring it." Sword falls off of the Nexus at the end of turn. Of course.
I do see a Sun Titan in Dan Jordan's hand.
Yeah, and that's another card that has snuck into the main deck of most Callblade lists. I believe.
What do we got over there? A
Jace
big
Bellerin?
Jace?
Or Big Jace? Where he tapped 4, so it must be Big Jace. Or did he just play? Can we find out what it is that they just decided to hide from us? Mind Sculptor? Okay. Just checking. So, Brainstorm. I guess it would have been pretty obvious if I would have watched him draw 3 cards off the top of his deck, but it would be better if we could actually see the card. And that's what those, that's what's happening right now. So, move the Jace over just a bit. Yeah, there we go. So Dan figuring out exactly how he wanted to resolve that Brainstorm, and the Stoneforge Mystics come over to see Gideon.
Hey, what's happening, Gideon?
Yeah, knock him back down to 6. Not much of an impact, but nothing really he could do about it. So, Sword of Feast and Famine now in the hands of a Stoneforge Mystic for Devyn March. And looks like he is playing a Squadron Hawk. Going to the deck.
Jerry Thompson and AJ Soccer just
Rolling in,
by,
glancing at the screen, seeing what's going on. So it looks like you got 3 Hawks, full flock. And Gideon is now a creature. And Stoneforge and Gideon joining forces to come into the red zone. Dan not looking very happy about that. He does have a Condemn, and he uses it to take out Gideon, or at least attempt to, but Mana Leak from Devyn takes care of that Condemn. And Jace is gone. Wow, a lot of action happening here. Jace gets taken out. Mortar Pod got discarded, and a Celestial Colonnade was Tectonic Edged. So a lot of action happened within a matter of 5 seconds. Devyn looking very good here.
Three mana, drops Jace Bellerin.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, Gideon seems to like to party hard. Should we be calling him Andrew WK now?
Oh my God. I don't know though, because
that's especially for frogs.
I feel like when Gideon is throwing a party, it's like it's a charming thing. Hey, come over, everybody, and then sometimes he'll kill you. So here we go. I believe that's the land that Dan might have wanted many turns ago.
Yeah, well, he just got his Colonnade edged away too.
I see a Carl Dillahay in the house. Carl Dillahay, U.S. Nationals team alternate just a few years ago. Stoneforge Mystic attacks Jace. A double Squadron Hawk block kills it.
Double block for the Mystic. So Devyn looking... It's just looking really good for Devyn, and Dan can't seem to get a leg up. But there's a Sun Titan, and that will help him if it resolves, which it looks like it will, because Devyn only has one. Devyn only had 1 land on tap, but yeah, and then a Jace to get rid of Devyn's Jace.
Devyn contemplating where he's going to go from here. The Sun Titan, really powerful card.
Yeah.
He doesn't, I don't think, have an answer for it directly.
So, the sword. I think I'd be going sword on Inkmoth Nexus here, but not Devyn's plan.
Off screen.
Looks like another Squadron
Another Squadron Hawk.
Make room, guys. Make room. So Devyn, knowing he's going to get in with the sword, taps out. And, oh wow, there's actually 2 Squadron Hawks over there. Didn't even see that second one. So, huge Planeswalker coming into the red zone and a Squadron Hawk wielding a sword. So Dan deciding what exactly to discard.
Interestingly, that Sun Titan, when it comes back, it's going to be able to bring back a Jace Beleren or numerous other cards. Squadron Hawk, I believe, is one of them.
Yeah, that's. I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, the Sun Titan is just really good in the mirror match, being able to get back the majority of the key cards of the deck. I mean, it can't get back obviously the spell, the counter spells and things, but being able to get the. Yeah, he chump blocked the Gideon with the sword, Stoneforge Mystic.
Yep, there we go.
But being able to get back Stoneforge Mystic, Squadron Hawk, Jace Beleren's...
I believe there's a Jace Beleren again. I'll just off of the screen on the bottom. Yes, that is a Jace Beleren on the bottom.
Yeah.
Just underneath that second Squadron Hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, puts it in play, looking at the Sun Titan. No cards in Dan Jordan's hand, I believe.
And he's not going to be able to get... Well, I mean, he can get the Jace back, but it's not going to give him much value. It's just going to get rid of Devyn's
Just
Jace.
going to kill the Jace.
I mean, and that's good. It's good. I mean, but he could also kill the Jace with the... well, no, I'm sorry. He's got plenty of chump blockers. Never mind.
Yeah.
Just wonder if killing the Jace is valuable enough, or more valuable than him getting something else, like just another creature. I'm not sure if he did discard Mortar Pod earlier, so that may be something he decides he'd rather get, because being able to repeatedly use a Mortar Pod to take down Devyn's Hawks seems pretty good.
Sword.
Second Sword of Feast and Famine.
Equips.
Equip.
Makes it big enough to block a Gideon.
Yeah. He says attack, and I'm going to get back. Does he get Mortar Pod here? Or Jace? Okay. Goes with
Jace for Jace.
I think if that Sun Titan sticks around for another turn, chump block with the Stoneforge Mystic from Devyn. I think if he sticks around for another turn, I think Mortar Pod seems like a good card to start thinking about in the graveyard for Dan to get back with that Sun Titan. But now Devyn's going with the Animate Inkmoth, equip it with a sword plan, which is really, I think, having the... Basically, that's like a 6-power creature if you think about it. I mean, it's a 3-power, but dealing the damage and poison.
The Sun Titan can theoretically block that Gideon, survive, and then a Mortar Pod would finish off the Sun Titan. It would take 4 mana, but I don't believe that Devyn would mind doing it.
No, especially considering he's gonna have all of his lands available right now. So there it went. Up to 7 poison for Dan. Now there's a second Inkmoth Nexus for Devyn. So
says go.
Says go, but that's Dan's on a 1-turn clock if he can't deal with those Inkmoth Nexuses. Nexuses. Is it Nexi? I don't know. So now,
does he have a Tectonic Edge in his yard?
That's a good question. He may very well.
Equips another sword, maybe? Oh, a Hawk. Ouch.
Hawk. That'll help deal with those Nexuses if Devyn can't deal with the Hawks. But look at the numbers on the screen here. We've got Devyn's still at 20 life, and Dan not only down to 7, but up to 7 poison. So it's really Devyn's got a number of avenues that he can capitalize on.
Dan surveying his graveyard, figuring out what might come out after he attacks. Going after the Gideon once again, demanding that a Squadron Hawk or something block. And look, there is a Tectonic Edge.
Yeah, that is very relevant right now. So there
Hawk
goes
dies for the cause.
And looks like he's going to probably play a second Squadron Hawk here.
I think you're correct. He might just even... Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Go.
That's the turn.
God, that Sun Titan has just ruled the game since it came into play.
Yeah, it's really made a big difference, although I still feel like Dan's on the back foot.
I think it's about to turn.
It could, but I think... So Devyn's got 2 Inkmoth Nexuses, which can be dealt with by a Tectonic Edge and blocked with Squadron Hawk. But Devyn may have access to Mortar Pod. Not entirely sure if he has one in hand, or maybe another Stoneforge Mystic. Just a way to get a Mortar Pod to possibly take out that blocker. That oh, there's 2 Hawks on board. Didn't see the one sneakily hiding up under the word Finals. So never mind. Well, Mortar Pod can still take out both of those Hawks.
Dan looks pretty okay. Devyn definitely looks worried about the situation.
So taps 2 to equip his own Squadron Hawk with a Sword of Feast and Famine. And drops a Glacial Fortress. Looks like he's gonna activate Gideon, make him a creature. Or animate Gideon, actually, probably better.
Here they come.
So
Chump chump.
Chump with the Hawks. And Devyn desperately searching for an answer to that Sun Titan. Does Dan blow up the Tectonic Edge, or Tectonic Edge something now, just to get some different value out of the Sun Titan now? Decides not to.
I mean, there might be another edge in the yard even.
That's true, yeah. And also, you know, he can still play Squadron Hawk, or get a Squadron Hawk. So Dan is in the tank trying to decide what to do here. So it looks like he's about to push that Sun Titan into the red zone. Changes his mind for a second. Decides to go with a... oh yeah, that's what it is. He's got a Mortar Pod back from the graveyard. And looks like he takes out a Squadron Hawk, which is Devyn's only available blocker, not including animated Inkmoth Nexuses.
There is a Celestial Colonnade back there.
Yeah, but he can't activate it with the mana he has available, I don't think. Or, depending, okay, maybe he can. He can. Depends on what he's doing right here. Looks like he's trying to decide. It's the other thing that's really strong about Sun Titan is just the fact that it doesn't tap. It's got Vigilance, and Gideon, you know, normally would be a nice answer to an attacking creature, but with the Vigilance, really protects Sun Titan from Gideon's -2 ability.
Asks how many cards he's got.
So Chump blocks Sun Titan with Inkmoth Nexus.
Gideon, Sun Titan, getting a little shrunk.
Yeah, just a little smaller.
Only 5/5 plus that sword.
Yeah, so it's just a
Just a
7/7.
7/7.
That's all. And there is a Squadron Hawk from Dan. Really looking set up now, just because of that Sun Titan.
Dan tapping and untapping.
Yeah.
And re-tapping.
Yeah.
Equipping. Making his Sun Titan now a grand 9/9. Putting it out of range of any rational mortar pod kill from the combination of Gideon plus mortar pods.
Right. So now there's one Squadron Hawk in play. Is that on Dan's side? Actually,
right.
on the whole board. But
one on Dan's side and one on Devyn's side.
Oh, Devyn covers up his creatures with the equipment, just like Edgar Flores does. That's the opposite of what I do. But, so, if Devyn can take out that Squadron Hawk, he can potentially rumble in with his own Squadron Hawk or a Colonnade and Sword. Seems like to put Dan to 1, but he really wants to find an answer to Sun Titan.
The nature of Sun Titan's card advantage is actually really just kind of ridiculous.
It's really out of hand at this point. Like the amount of card advantage that Sun Titan has managed to provide for Dan. The cards that Devyn has fought and just had to fight again.
6 mana of his own
for a Sun
Titan.
Now they're not legendary.
2 mana left,
but now maybe Devyn can kind of match that edge that Dan has managed to get, or at least threaten to match it.
Devyn surveying his yard. Dan surveying his own yard.
Yeah.
Dueling Sun Titans. Now Dan is in an awkward position here with only 7 life. That Sun Titan is a huge risk. This Sun Titan recovering a Stoneforge Mystic and a sword.
Yeah.
Now remember, Dan Jordan's Sun Titan is a little smidge smaller.
Right. Does have double sword on him, but making him a 9/9. But a double sworded Sun Titan on Devyn's side will be a 10/10.
Getting a little sneak peek here from Drew Levin.
So Dan gets edges away the Inkmoth Nexus, I believe, that Devyn had left, the one remaining Inkmoth Nexus. And now Dan has has his turn to play with, and 7 life. 3 potential poison could take him out, but there are no Inkmoth Nexuses for Devyn at this point. But that could change with Devyn's Sun Titan, although I'm not sure if that's the strategy he's going with anymore. I think if he had decided to actually go with the aggressive poison strategy, I think he may have actually won by this point, or at least been in a very different situation. Seemed like he kind of was like halfway in on the infect strategy, and I think that's I think if you're going to do it, you need to just do it. Seemed like he was very hesitant to decide which kind of what way he wanted to win. Yeah, what do you think about that, Adrian? The fact that Devyn had Inkmoth Nexus available earlier in the game. And
I think you kill someone so infrequently with poison
that
sometimes when the path for a poison kill presents itself, you might not have played enough games to recognize it.
Yeah. It just looked like, he got in twice with it on the sword, or without holding a sword, and once without. All it was going to take was one more hit, but by that point, Dan had the answers available. And Spell Pierce from Dan.
Stoneforge Mystic chumping the big guy. Dan getting a card, looking for something to turn that Sun Titan advantage into something not scary.
So Devyn is entirely tapped out at the moment, so Dan's got free reign to cast whatever spell it is he needs, but I think that's what he's trying to decide, what exactly he wants to resolve.
We have not really seen much in the way of condemns in this game, too.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still are in the deck. I would imagine so.
Yeah.
But where they are, I would like to know.
It's a good question. I know if Devyn's got them still in his deck, he's wondering where they are too, because he wants to take care of that Sun Titan.
Yeah, both
and he's
of them
wanted
at
it
this
for a
point.
while. Yeah, both of them at this point, but I know Devyn's been digging for it for a while now, and has not been able to find an answer for that Sun Titan. So now Devyn's in the driver's seat at the moment. Taking a look at Dan's graveyard.
Pretty sure, I keep trying to figure out if this is the right guy. Pretty sure that Devyn March knocked me out of a Grinders for U.S. Nationals last year.
So
get
looks like he's got
Preordain.
a Preordain, yeah. And I believe I see Glacial Fortress and something else that Devyn did not want to see, so he's just bottoms both of them. And I couldn't tell what he drew. But it may be a Mind Sculptor. He's tapping 405.
That's a lot of mana.
Never mind.
The Colonnade.
So he is
Here it all
Alpha
comes.
Strike.
Rawr. Oh boy, look at all that stuff.
So he says Alpha Strike, you figure it out.
You have me.
Get something better. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, he said you have me. Okay, Devyn March, not unhappy about that turn of events. And one of the things that happened there, Dan Jordan totally clawing his way back on the back of a Sun Titan. And then when Devyn brought his own Sun Titan to the party, essentially what ended up happening is you end up with a situation where the only advantage that Dan Jordan was eking out in that table is suddenly being matched by Devyn March. Now we're going to have to go to a game 3, and Dan Jordan here with the play, definitely on the advantage when it comes to how the game 3 works out. But as we saw there, this is going to be a long, protracted game. I've got a guest with me here in the booth. I'm going to grab a seat for a second, sir. Hey guys. Drew Levin, top 8'd today, or not today, this weekend, knocked out yesterday in the top 8 by Dave Shields, Grand Prix champion.
Yeah, who I can't believe that he actually lost this morning. I'm going to chalk that one up to him having not nearly enough sleep, or 44 being enough wins in a row for him.
Yes, I think 44 was enough. 8 is enough, 44 is enough.
Yeah.
So here we have the person that vanquished Dave Shields, Dan Jordan, on the right. Still looking pretty smiley for having lost that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a lot more of the proactive cards that you get to have on the play. Like, I was cutting a lot of what I felt like were my more exciting cards on the draw, just because like you have to have more condemns, more spell pierces to basically try and get them at some point where you can regain gain the initiative. Because like if they lead off on Mystic, you're just on the back foot the entire time. And like if you resolve Condemn, it's fine, but then if they have Hawk to like pick up their sword again, then you're still on the back foot. So you have to board in a lot more reactive cards. You have to cut some of the higher costing cards from your curve and basically play a game that's less well suited to the long game, because you have to survive the early game in order to even get there.
Did you see the last turn of the game, or Dan Jordan's last turn of the game?
No.
Well, so he eventually got hit there by an Alpha Strike with a Celestial Colonnade, joining a Squadron Hawk and a Gideon and a Sun Titan, and 2 Swords of Feast and Famine on the table on Devon's side, helping make those things bigger. And Dan Jordan is at 7 life.
Right, and Dan has a double-sworded Sun Titan and a Squadron Hawk of his own.
Right, so only 2 blockers. But one thing he did do when he attacked is he brought back a Jace Bellerin.
Yeah.
If he had brought back a blocker, do you think he might have been able to survive that turn?
Dan brought back Jace Bellerin?
Dan brought back Jace Bellerin.
So, when he passed, he was just dead on board?
Yes. Nothing new happened.
Yeah. Like he preordained, cast nothing, animated Colonnade, animated Gideon, sent?
Yes.
I mean, how many cards does Devyn have there?
Devyn was down to, I think, 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah, okay, so, I mean, the thought is if they have like 5 or 6, like, you just have to hope that they're on like a bunch of Planeswalkers. Like, they have a Gideon, so like you have to hope that they have multiples and like a Jace or something. So you block their Jace with your Jace so that your Titan doesn't get bounced.
Right.
And just hope that they try and cast a bunch of spells and that you get to untap and trigger Sun Titan again. But like in that situation, I think that probably bringing back blocker would be a good idea. I mean, I would have brought back Tectonic Edge if he had access to that.
I believe he did. I believe there was an edge that had been used and was back in the yard again.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's an awesome blocker. Costs 2 mana, but, you know, it makes them use 6.
Definitely, once there were double Sun Titans dueling away at each other, the game becomes, again, back in the same direction it was before. Devyn was kind of going over the top of Dan Jordan pretty much the whole game, and then on a particular turn in the mid-game, Dan taps out, casts Sun Titan, has 1 card in hand, and is like, Sun Titan... It worked. Okay. Okay, I'm in this game. And then started pushing his way back, making Devyn start to slow down. And then Devyn puts his own Sun Titan down. And now we're back to the position we were before, with Devyn just leaning on Dan Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, Sun Titan has always sort of felt like the ultimate trump in this matchup, but, I mean, as a lot of people have figured out, what makes the matchup so interesting is that sometimes you can't cast Sun Titan, sometimes you can't resolve Sun Titan. A lot of people early on boarded out mana leaks in the matchup, and then they realized that everyone was trying to actually just get to 6 mana and cast Sun Titan, and so kept mana leaks in, so it's not like you can just jam Sun Titan and expect it to resolve. Sometimes you get the heavy Tectonic Edge draw and you just edge them out and you draw more lands than they do, and you know, it's a very, very interactive control mirror precisely because every single resource interacts with all of the other ones. And so if you can balance your resources and figure out where to overpressure theirs, you're going to be in a very good position to win the matchup.
It's like Devyn's taking the
didn't think on the white handicap. Yeah, I didn't think on the white handicap part.
Okay. So, this will be the last match that we're likely to see today of Cawblade v. Cawblade. Legacy is upcoming, so it is possible.
Louis Laskin told me that he was playing Squadron Hawk in Legacy. So,
And,
if he managed to convince someone else,
Edgar Flores said that he might be trying to.
yeah, I hope they get paired. You guys have to be Cawblade in Legacy.
Okay. So, we'll see you in a bit, Drew.
Yeah.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
18, and go to T moving around the room. Please find your seat. 4 players.
Actually, more main deck Blue Planeswalkers today than
Okay, Dan Jordan, second turn, lays the Squadron Hawk. His opponent, Devyn March, is turn 1 Tectonic Edge. For those of you who are just joining us, this is the finals of Star City Games Open Series Boston. It started yesterday with 487 players. We're down to 2. I'm Adrian Sullivan, and I'm joined here in the booth by Joey Pasco.
Hey everybody, we are in Game 3 of the finals, so it all comes down to this.
Look at that now. I think I see 3 lands to 1,
Yeah.
and I think I see Devyn March twiddling.
Yeah, it is looking like Dan has taken several turns while Devyn has taken 1.
Go!
Oh wow, what did he
Oh boy.
keep? Did he really keep? I mean, I know he mulliganed, but
I mean, I would be happy to go to a second mulligan.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
that. I mean, it's one thing to keep a 1-land hand with like a preordain that you can cast on turn 1, but to keep a 1-lander that's not going to let you cast any of your spells seems really sketchy. Wow, and Dan, of course, no fear here because Devyn only has 2 mana, no chance of a Day of Judgment from Devyn for a while. So
That's
those Squadron Hawks are threatening to just take the game by themselves.
That was a double already. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I still think 4 might be better than 5 at that point. I mean, calling me crazy. Maybe you just have to hope it works out.
Did he go all the way to 5? Is that what
He
it
did.
was?
He did go to 5.
Okay. Yeah.
And Jason bounce,
And
in
for
they
4.
come.
This is a beating right now. I mean, and that's
There
it,
we
yeah.
are.
Wow. Well, congratulations to Devyn March for making it to the finals. Quite a jump on his previous 9th place appearances, but you know, just making an improvement. That's what you always want to do. Try to do. So maybe we'll see him take one down pretty soon, but.